Do you ever look at your dating history and think, am I just into people who ruin my life? If you keep getting pulled towards that same kind of crappy person, the emotionally unavailable one, the jealous one, hot and cold, chaotic person, it's not a coincidence, it's a pattern, right? And it might feel familiar, but familiar isn't the same as healthy. So we're often drawn to people just simply because we recognize and are familiar with that behavior, not because it's actually good for us. So if you grew up in a home, for example, where, love was hot and cold, where you had to work for it, maybe it was even explosive and then loving, whatever it may be, your nervous system might register that as normal, right? So sometimes when you meet someone who is safe and calm and consistent, it doesn't click, it feels boring, but it's not. It's just simply not what you register love as being, right? And so you're like, oh, I'm used to it being hot and cold. I'm used to being screamed at and then made up to, because that's how I grew up. That's what I witnessed, or that's how I was treated. And I've now interpreted that as love. And so in the absence of that behavior, it's like, oh, this isn't right for me. This isn't love, right? So the first thing is to ask yourself, like, really do an audit. Like, what does love feel like to me? What do I think love feels like? What do I think a good relationship looks like? Am I chasing something just because it is familiar to me, or is it actually good for me? It's just starting that process of doing that self-audit can help set you on the right path, and so you can sort of free yourself from the cycle. Once you're clear on what you've been taught to crave versus like, well, what do I actually want? What do I actually believe love is? What do I actually believe chemistry is? It may be different than what you were raised to believe, right? And once you can kind of decipher that there's a difference between the two, you can start to rewire and take steps towards a more healthy relationships. You don't have to figure it out alone. Talk to your friends. They can probably spot these patterns better than you. Work with a therapist. They can help you, right? Just like you read books on the topic, the more you bring in information, that repetition of those positive ideas will help rewire your brain. It is how it works. So the next time you feel an instant spark, pause and ask yourself, like, is this just because this crappy pattern is familiar to me? Or is this a real spark? Is this real chemistry? Or is this just they leave breadcrumbs for me? They make me work for it. They leave me unsure of how they feel. So when they do call me or text me, it's exciting. Is that the same as real chemistry, right? And next time you go out with someone who you really like and they're really nice, but it just doesn't feel like chemistry, also ask yourself, like, well, wait a second. Does this fit? Am I like falling into the old trap of only registering chemistry as like fighting and making up, or hot and cold, right? Or is that what I really think chemistry is? And if it's not, maybe give that slower burn a chance, right? Because you can find that chemistry can look like different things, It can look like a slow building of a relationship. It can look like commonality. It can look like laughing at the same joke, or someone who makes you feel good by following up when they say they're going to. It just takes interrupting that pattern and starting to do that assessment so that you can start to do your homework and separate those things for yourself. There's not an instant fix, of course, but starting that self-audit first of what are all your old ideas, how are you raised, what feels like chemistry, what feels like love, is it because it's familiar, and then versus what do I think logically that love is? What do I think that healthy relationships look like? What do I think that chemistry should look like? And if those don't match, that's when you know you have to do the work.